Hello, Divine Beings. Welcome to my Author Talk series from my new book, Journey from the Ego to the Heart Center. I wanted to do this series to be quite vulnerable and open and honest about the last 10 years. It's one thing to write a book, but when you have to read it and express it in its truest form as an author, I think that is the best way for me to connect with you. So I'm going to put myself out there and do something out of my comfort zone, because it's easy for me to just hide behind the keyboard and write blogs, but I want to do this for my own cathartic experience as well, because I think this will help me process stuff as well. So, chapter 1. It's a hard one. It's my mother's sudden death. And it's a memory that I'll never forget, because she was a very special person to me. This is my mum, Dawn. And she passed away in July 2012, and unfortunately it was cancer that took her very quickly from us as a family. Our family knew that she had an ulcer, but unfortunately it wasn't healing, and she got it diagnosed, and they tried radiation therapy, but unfortunately it didn't work. And so this chapter, I do introduce it with a trigger warning, because it's quite deep in where I go with it. It's quite raw. I take you on the perspective of how I was feeling, what I was seeing, and it was hard to watch my mum go through something so painful in such a short period of time. So chapter 1 really takes you on this emotional roller coaster of what it's like to lose someone very quickly. And for us as a family, we received the diagnosis on the 9th of July and she passed away on the 31st. So it was a very accelerated time for us to process what was happening. And because it was allocated in her throat, she wasn't able to speak. So it was hard. She had to write. And it was just really a sad, sad time. When I was writing that chapter, it was quite cathartic, because I didn't want to lose that memory. And even to do the audiobook, it's really hard for me to read it, because you can see my voice changes. So I will plan to do it. And maybe the emotions need to be there, because you can't not read it without having your heart on your sleeve. So that is chapter 1. But I have to do chapter 1 the way it was, because that was the beginning, the beauty of it, the gift in it from her passing was the gift of me going through my own spiritual awakening. But from her death, I had to go through my own spiritual death of the ego. And the ego believes in the separation of people leaving the earth plane. But what I've learnt over many years now is that we are spiritual beings. We are energy. Energy does not die. Energy only moves. It transforms into another frequency. And that's how I reflect. I talk about in chapter 1, after I tell you what it's like and you experience firsthand, the diagnosis, I say at the very end that if birth is the arrival into the physical realm and death is the arrival into the spiritual realm, then it proves we never die, but instead are energetic beings transitioning into another form and formless manner. Therefore, we are spiritual multidimensional beings having a human experience. When our physical body dies, our eternal essence and soul moves into a non-physical experience until our soul agrees to re-enter a physically simulated experience again. When we can accept death as a part of the life cycle and not fear it, we will start to live more courageously, valuing each other and each moment without attachment and greater peace and harmony from within. And that's the beauty. I keep reminding myself that yes, she's not here physically, but she's here in an energy field, and I can talk to her, and she's still in our memories. My mum, we talk about it every day. Her name is brought up every day in conversation because she's left that mark of joy in us. So even though she's not physically here, I don't miss her as much because we talk about her all the time, and it's in a fun way. So it's like she's laughing with us. And so that's how I wanted it to start this book. I needed you as the reader to experience what it's like, because we're all going to lose our parents one day or a loved one. That's the reality of this world that we live in. And if I can sort of show you an insight that it's, there is light at the end of this. Yes, you will go through hardship and all these emotions will come, but that's fine. It's okay. And we're all processing it at a different place of the relationship that we had with that person. So yes, chapter 1, it's a bit full on, I'm not going to lie. And it needed to be that way. I wouldn't do it any other way. And what I found for her, she was reading this book, You Can Heal Your Life. And I remember my best friend gave this to me when I turned 21. And I remember reading it, and it's beautiful. Like, it's got all these gorgeous colours and illustration, and gives you at the back different meanings, like when you have a problem in your body, what's the probable cause and what's the new thought pattern. And this book was written by Louise Hay. Now, I read this book later when I was in my 40s, and it actually made more sense now than it did back then because of the journey that I've gone through. And I remember giving this to my mum, and she was taking little notes and writing that. And I remember her having her own prayers and affirmations because she would have looked up throat why maybe she had that problem in her area. Why did she have an ulcer? So this was her way to get through what she was going through. And it gave her some peace before she left the earth plane. So that is chapter 1. It's a heavy chapter, but I want you to know that I'm doing okay. Like, I can look back to that old version of Suzanne, and I can hold compassion for her, and I send her empathy because I wish I knew what I knew now, but that was what I had to go through. I didn't know any better. I didn't realize what it was to be spiritual. I was living in this idea that when you die, that's it, and it's all over, and I'm never going to see her again. I didn't have these strong beliefs that I do today. So even though she's not here, I know that she's in my laugh, she's in my expression, sometimes the way I dress. A lot of my relatives can see her through me, her essence, and that I take that as a compliment. I also want to read just another small passage to say that out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field and I'll meet you there. And that was a quote by Rumi. And I put that in the book because I say at the very beginning that I'm honoured that you want to read my book, but I also want you to have an open mind. And what I express in this book is my truth. And you will obviously come from your experience and your perception, and you might judge it and you might think, oh, I don't agree with that, and that's okay. But if we can meet somewhere in the middle, that would be nice. That would be a great place to meet you. And I hope that it inspires people to go on a journey of self-mastery, because my mother's passing was the catalyst for me to go on self-mastery. So I see that as a gift. And if that's what had to happen for me, for my soul contract to kick in and do the work that I need to do today so I can make this book and write this book for you, then it was worth it. You know, we all have exit points in our lifetime. We all have soul contracts. And maybe that's what hers was. She had to leave the earth plane in 2012 to make way for myself and my brother and my father and all those that were very close to her to activate new timelines for all of us. So that is my reading for chapter 1. And I will next do chapter 2 tomorrow. Bye for now.